Hey guys, VaulSC here, hope that you're doing well. We're going to take a look at a game of Conquest Last Argument of Kings that I played today. 100 Kingdoms against the Spires, and it was on the scenario Maelstrom, as far as I can recall. This will be the first game with the new Archangel for 100 Kingdoms. I have put together a bit of a diorama to proxy as the monster, which I'll speak a bit more about during the bat rep, and also in a future video about how I put it together. But overall, I think the Archangel is really a must-take. It's an auto-include if you're running the Theist subfaction. The speed that it gives to your friendly regiments is pretty important, and it's very sturdy for what it costs. Spires due for a rework, maybe later this month or next month. I'm not too sure when the happy hour is. I think there's some stuff happening to Spires. I think Dwegom got put off a little bit. We'll just have to see with that one. I can't quite remember the specifics, but getting this game in with the current rules of the day. So let's just jump into the army lists and we'll have a talk about what's going on. So here we are with my favorite feudal Theists list. I have the Theist priest and the Militia. One thing that's going to happen as I assemble some Militia bowmen is that this is going to be downgraded to just 3 bowmen. So instead of the cost you're seeing there, I'll only pay 80, which will give me more points for other stuff elsewhere. But having recently done the hard work to assemble a full group of 8 Household Guard, we're going to be running that regiment for a while. It's a really fun one, and just all of the buffs that you can stack on it, it just is endless. So they've got the +1 from the Armsmaster, then they've got the scoring bonus from Relentless Drills and the Always Inspired, and then they have the reroll 6s from the Noble Lord from Theism, and they have the Indomitable from the Priest if they're on range of the Priest, and they have the turn with the Blessed. The Noble Lord can give them a banner, so Armor of Dominion is the one we're running with today. I normally give him the Elysian Fragment, and normally the Priest is just like support without attacking, but because we've got the 6 Militia, we're going with Fragment on the Militia. Ordinarily, it's Fragment here, but I think that one consideration of future is just seeing if I can add more defense on there. I also look at Standard of Steel. It's very expensive, but it's also very, very good. So I'll try a few different variations, but I'm just loving the 8 Household Guard there. And of course, if the Noble Lord is your Warlord, you should really fill out the entire warband because there's free veteran being given out, so you're sort of cheating on points a bit. All 3 of these regiments gain something valuable from free veterancy, so that's why we've run this. Mountain Squires aren't really the best thing in the faction right now, but with the free veteran, I think they're probably just barely worth it. Not you know the high performers of the faction, but I think they're still okay. Archangel. So you always should be taking the Spear and the Shield until they fix this. The Spear and the Shield gives you +1 defense because it has a shield, so that's the critical part of it. The regen is quite hard to use and unlikely to kick in, but the +1 defense is just absolutely critical on an 18 wound monster, whereas the sword one, you know, it's just a little bit situational. You're not going to get a ton of value out of this all game long, whereas the shield is always going to be important no matter what, so that's the way you run it. But the Spirit Glimmer's just really powerful rule, just giving everything nearby that is Theist the ability to have +2 speed is effectively what it's doing there, including the Archangel itself. So you've got something with approximately Apex Predator stats, slightly less aggressive but slightly more defensive than the Apex Predator, but it's faster and everything around you is faster. So I think that this is just such a strong piece, which is why I've gone ahead and proxied it. I do like the Archangel miniature, but I'm just more a fan of the idea that it's like an infantry and character faction and cavalry faction overall. Mage with water and crossbowmen is a bit of a staple for me, really. She's always going to be healing the Household Guard or the Militia, whoever's in range and needs it. And of course, she gives scoring to her regiment by causing them to be 4 stands wide, allowing you to have the Relentless Drills bonus for +1 for scoring on your command stand. And if you get shot at and take casualties, she can heal the crossbowmen back and go back to scoring. So for 190 points, character plus regiment, it's a really important element of the army. And the Noble Lord with Tourney Champion and Caledburn. The Caledburn, you get a lot of value out of this from having that affect both the impact hits and the clash attacks. Really, if I could afford a centric fighting style, that'd be ideal, but then it becomes quite pricey. So this is something I'm testing at the moment. I may end up going back to putting Caledburn on this guy and eccentric fighting style there and just leaving this guy with nothing else. But having an additional feudal character around on the battlefield for the reroll sixes is pretty good. All right, my opponent going with the Lineage Highborne Legacies of the Arc, so all of the free upgrades that you would normally take there. The Cascading Degeneration is still good, especially when you're running 6 Avatara. Command Pheromones is the best one you can take. Pheromantic Override is the best one. Command Pheromones is just good for +1 resolve, and he's got Flank on there as well, I believe. I think this is the list that he took. Avatara, totally fine. Biomancer and the Desolation Drones, totally fine. Master of Flesh can be useful if he's like getting enough leverage from the back without being killed or shot at over the course of the game. That could be really, really good. Incarnate's fine. I mean, they're not the best unit run as a single MSU. They really do need a bit of support, but they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. And High Clone Executor with all the stuff here are really good. So he's running 3 minimum units of Force-Grown Drones. This is something I had to talk to him about, where if you successfully use them to buy yourself enough time to get more shooting done, get into position, then that really helps you win games. Because the one thing that Spires usually lacks is an anchoring unit where you have something really tough that moves directly up to an objective and just sits there and takes it. And Spires don't do that quite as well as most other factions do. Speaking of which, we're going to be on this mission here, Maelstrom, and unfortunately for Spires, this is one where you have to commit to the middle and actually have to win fights there and actually have to have a little bit of staying power, and that's where you want to sort of have just your Force-Grown Drones in front of other stuff to screen, and then hopefully win on attrition and take the circles after a while. But no points for killing anything in this one, it's just points for standing on the circles. The middle one is worth more at the beginning of the game and the end of the game, whereas the side ones are worth more during the mid-game. So a pretty classic mission if you ask me. Let's get to the battle. Alrighty, so this is the local game store on game day. Me just setting up my army here. This big chunk here, that's my diorama for the Archangel, which we'll talk about a little bit more soon. But the layout is on the table on the left-hand side there, so let's just move over to that one. This is my card list to begin with. So the 4 at the top there are for the mediums, I believe. And so we're starting with the Mage, the Militia, and the Squires. Yeah, so 2 units of crossbows, Militia, Squires, 2 characters. So luckily I managed to roll successfully for the additional lights, 4s or less, I got 2 of them. So we're looking at the characters first, followed by the regiments with the Militia last, since that's probably the most important and weighty kind of deployment in terms of the strength that you're committing to the battlefield, and you need to see your opponent's position first before they arrive. So my opponent essentially had to get both of his regiments on the field while I was activating my characters. He missed a couple of opportunities with light rolls, I believe, so it's just these 2. On the other side, I've got the Squires moving into the forest. On the left-hand flank, we've got a conga line of Militia, which are 2 wide and 3 deep. You can see that the retinue being used for the Theist Priest is now my regiment of Sakai, because what I've done is I've purchased the 1 box of Sakai. I've assembled them. I did play 2 or 3 games with them, as you saw from my other battle reports. They've been ripped off their stands and put onto the diorama I'm using for the Archangel, with 3 or 4 left over to use as retinue here for this priest. And in the middle, we've got the sorcerer there, or the mage, I should say. The idea with her is that she's going to be able to potentially heal the priest on the left-hand flank, or the household guard as they move through the center on her right. And we've got another group of crossbowmen just sitting there in the forest, ready to shoot at anything that comes along the side over here. So that's the overview. You can see how he's got 2 regiments of Force-Grown Drones on the left. I've got 4 regiments of lights on the right here, being the Militia, Squires, and 2 crossbowmen, plus the Mage and the Priest. So coming into turn 2 now, I will be bringing on the Noble Lord and the Household Guard, and failed the rolls for everything else, so no additional units of Household Knights or anything like that, just 1 new regiment coming on for turn 2. So, opponent, seeing that the Squires are, starting to trot across the battlefield quite quickly, he's just reforming a little bit so that I can't get a march charge into the flank of those drones. Over here, the crossbow is moving up just ever so slightly and then stopping. There's nothing for them to do, and I don't want to overcommit them just yet. Over here, the Mage, again, just moving to the left-hand side a bit. She was a little bit more centralized, but you can see this little circle in the middle of the table. That's the objective we're going to be going for. So what we want to do is we want to leave a household guard-sized gap between the two crossbowmen regiment for the halberds to move up the guards. All right, so we then have the marksman clones appearing. Now, this is a sensible place for them to be. Quite honest, we had to talk about this, and he's got them behind that tree there, which is an impassable tree, and then there's another forest to the left of them and 2 units of force-grown drones. It would take me a really long time to get around here and march charge the marksman clones, and they're directly in range of that central objective, so they can use their arcing fire to shoot at my stuff every turn. He can put grant virulence on them to make them deadly shot, and my reroll 6s only works on clash actions, not shooting actions. So this is just a really good value place for them to be. Really happy with that. The Squires moving to the edge of the forest. They've got Tenacious 2 against shooting, which is nice, but they're not ready to commit just yet, so they're just extending their threat range by coming and camping at the end of the forest, well protected against shooting, and then we're going to go and attack once I've got a bit more backup. Biomancer with the Desolation drones now, just appearing behind the Force-Grown drones and waiting for an opportunity to move towards that central objective and support things with the little acid guns, which, of course, will do -1 defense to the target after they've shot at it. So this is good play. This is just solid stuff. It allows him to just to stay in the game and buy time for the rest of his army to show up. And I made the point to him that a lot of the games that we've played in the past with 100 Kings versus Spires is that some of his stuff has just come over to my side of the battlefield and attacked too quickly, and he's sort of gone down on regiments. Whereas if he waits for everything to show up, then the Spires list can sort of work in tandem and use a bit more synergy. So for me, the Priest is double marching onto the zone here on my left, and because of the Relentless Drill's army ability, the command stand there is going to get +1 to scoring, so I'm going to be able to get an early lead on the points, which is fantastic. And then, of course, we've got the big turtle, the tortoise, the stand, the regiment of 8 household guards plus the noble lord just marching in next to the mage. We're going to go towards the center of the table with that one. So this is the look of the battlefield at the end of turn 2. You've got me scoring on the left with the militia. I'm about to move into the center to score with the big tortoiseshell, the hedgehog, and the mage is correctly positioned between the 2 infantry regiments, which he can heal. We're going to be planning on bringing in the Archangel just behind the mage as well, so that it can use its aura of spirit shimmers or whatever it is to effectively give everything +2 speed if it is Theist. All right, next, turn 3, we're going with the mage first and then other characters and just buying time, really. Nothing's really in range to attack, so we just got to wait to see where more of my opponent's stuff appears and then counter-deploy with the rest, with the Mounted Squires going last so that anything that moves into their threat range I can attack, just as a way of zoning them out a little bit. And the Priest will even be in range to hit them with something like a Blessed or whatever spell he needs to be able to do. Over here, we've got the Mage attempting to put Call Fog, which is a rare ability that nobody ever uses. It is the School of Water spell that grants obscuring to a friendly unit, and because you can't heal anything right now, nothing's damaged, we're going to try and call Fog onto the Household Guard as they move up and take some shots from the marksman clones, but because of scaling, she wasn't able to get it through. That's a very big unit, and scaling made that very hard. No matter though, Force-Grown drones moving to the left into the forest here. This is his 3rd regiment of drones. They've all got catabolic nodes as far as I remember. In fact, just looking back at the army lists, I think that I probably didn't actually calculate his list correctly. So we'll just come in and add the catabolic nodes. This tells me that he probably did not have Master of Flesh on this guy, and he probably did not have Attracting Pheromones over here, which does put us back on 2,000 points. So this is probably more likely the army list he was actually running, because he was using catabolic nodes. Over here, so the Mage and the Crossmen just moving a little bit further to the left, just giving more room to the Household Guard to do their thing. And they want to also move on to into the forest to get a bit of protection from it. And in the long game, they may need to go and score on the objective on the left also. Over here, the Force-grown drones just continuing to, create walls and barriers for the shooting units that are amassing behind them and waiting for more backup. The Militia doing a reform now so that they're 4 wide, just makes them a bit more potent when it comes to the Elysian Fragment and just blocks off more of the battlefield and allows room to maneuver behind them. So if the Household Knights come in behind their regiment, they're not pressed too far to the back of the table. Here it is. This is the Archangel. This is the back rear view. We'll take some photos from the front of it as well. I will be doing a video explaining what this is made out of and where that knight comes from and how the base was created. We'll do that in a separate video, but for now, this is the 100 Kingdoms Archangel with the spear and shield version, and it's glorious. It's going to make the Household Guard move faster, same with everything on the left, and it's just going to be a good, solid beast to put into the enemy's line and hopefully stay there. Really proud of it. There's the view from the front. So it's essentially representing cavalry and infantry from the Theist subfaction, where we've got 7 of the what do you call those guys? Sakai, just in a procession coming down the stairs with the boss, call him the Arch-Theist, the Arch-Priest or whatever he is, directing them into battle. So that's the idea of the diorama. Over here, Brute Drones coming on his extreme left flank. This is my right flank. I've got nothing deployed on the side of the table. So this gives me the idea here where, what if I just ignore this side of the battlefield? It's going to mean that he's going to score from this circle every turn uncontested. But the thing is, if he goes into the late game, the last couple of turns are going to be switching back to the center. So the circles are only going to yield 1 objective point per turn. So if it comes down to a situation where I'm camping my side of the board, he's camping his side of the board, he'll probably not catch up to me on points quickly enough. And if the brute drones, have to come towards the middle of the table, that it's just going to take them a while. There's just nothing left to come in behind and grab that objective unless he does it with his Incarnate Sentinels. So this is a fun way of outplaying your opponent if you are confident that you can stay on the other 2 circles for long enough. And this is sort of an advanced consideration with Last Argument, but if you can master the allocation of strength, different parts of the field, you can sometimes get an advantage over your opponent without having to even roll any dice, which is really good. All right, the big, proud group of boys, the Household Guards, moving up onto the objective, only 1 stand touching it there, and this swampy-looking thing in the middle of the table, this is counting as water, so it's just a straight-up -1 clash. It's nothing to do with Inspired or anything, it's just a plain -1 clash. But my opponent just doesn't have any troops nearby, so I'm going to start scoring, getting into the lead with scoring early, which is good. So he's now bringing on his mega unit, the big boss of the level, which is the 6 Avatara with superior creations and the Legacy of the Ark, Highborne there with her command pheromones and pheromantic override and everything like that. This is going to be the most difficult regiment for me to deal with, especially if he backs it up with the centaurs and other various different things here. But I do have the Elysian Fragment on the Militia, and the supremacy from the priest will be helpful. I might be able to get the Archangel in here, and I still do have 2 regiments of Household Knights, so that's what's going to have to work to overcome this great challenge here. There's another look at it. These photos were taken as my opponent was sort of like jostling around with them and just trying to figure out where he would position them. I think he went with this photo in the end. Let's see if there's any more images. No, I think it was this one where he's just trying to make sure he's not going to get flanked by Squires, and he's just giving himself plenty of time and plenty of room, because with the free movement from Pheromantic Override, he should be able to out-threat range me here. So seeing that the Militia could be attacked by the Avatara in the distance, we're bringing in the Noble Lord with Caledburn. This is also another way of giving the Priest's Regiment the reroll 6s from the Noble Lord's Veteran Supremacy ability and subfaction rule. All right, so that's where they are, just camping the hill there, and if the Militia die, then they can go charging in against the Avatara. We now have the Marksman clones shooting at the Household Guard, but a very unlucky round of rolls results in like 1 or 2 wounds against the Noble Lord's unit, so that's fine for me. We then have the Squires, who have a speed boost from the nearby Archangel, and they are able to move sideways with both actions, just getting directly in the way of the Militia here. And the idea is that if he attacks the Squires with the Avatara, it just means that I might be able to charge him after that with a Militia and use Elysian Fragment, which is really like a good way of dealing with the problem of Defense 4. Let's just put it that way. So, seeing that I've done that, he is going to counter-deploy with the Centaurs. They're double marching onto the field, and what he's thinking about doing here is charging the Squires with these guys and then clearing the way for the Avatara to come onto the zone. I'm okay with this because it's going to mean that if he charges the Squires and wipes them out, I can just use the Fragment from the Militia on the Centaur and do that trade. Okay, so Squires trading for Centaurs is good for me. Also, the Archangel might be able to get into the flank of the Centaur Avatara, which is also fine. If the Centaur Avatara don't kill the Squires, I can just withdraw with them or even just leave them there to slow them down even further. And then in the long run, when it's the Militia just tying up the Avatar in close combat, I should be able to get the tempo right to hit them with the Knights, because that's going to be another meat shield, another speed bump for them to get over, and also allows me to get the Archangel into the side of the Avatar without having to fight the entire unit at once. It should be tough enough to buy me time to get in there with the Caledburn Noble Lord as well. So that's a bit of an overview look of where my army is positioned. Let's just move this out of the way here. So you can see I'm just completely ignoring the zone on the right, but I've got both of the zones on the left, giving me 3 points a turn, which is great. I've got a big wall of troops right here, holding the objective and getting ready to take the assault, brace for impact over here, and the Archangel is going to be able to move through the middle. Now, with the Household Guard, they can either stay there and just get shot at and healed by the Mage, which is fine, or I could push forward and try to bash my way into the gun line at the back, but that's risky, so we'll see how that plays out. This will be turn number 4, so we're going with all of the characters first. We still don't want to do any attacking at all. Okay, quite important. We're going to let him charge the Squires, so I've decided that that's going to be the plan. I could go with the Squires first to charge the Centaurs and then get countercharged by the Avatara, but the problem with doing that is that the Centaurs could use their flurry to just clash without inspiring and then charge through to the Militia if they happen to kill the Squires, and I just don't really want that. So we're going to let him kill the Squires by just leaving them there, and then the very last card at the end of the stack is the Priest and the Militia. So I'm expecting to be in a situation where the Centaurs are right in front of the Militia. I charge them with the Fragment and eliminate them, and then I let him attack me with the Avatara. So that's how we're going to deal with that situation. And that, my friends, is exactly what has happened. My opponent charges in, and he doesn't wipe them out with the impact hits, which is critical. I was concerned that he might charge and then pull back, allowing him room to get the Avatara to charge through the Centaurs. But as it's happened, he's charged in, and he has killed all but one stand of Squires, and he decides not to clash, which is fine. It just means that I'm going to withdraw the Squires, so the same result either way. So that happened, and I'm actually quite happy about it. So there you go, 3 wounds inflicted to the stand here, leaving him with 1 wound left, and the Centaurs decide not to clash, just meaning this guy has the ability to withdraw, but I think that he should have clashed, because it just takes away the option that I have here, where if I really wanted to, I could leave that guy there and just wait, and just buys me more time to get the Archangel into position. Having said that, I probably still wouldn't have done that, just because then I wouldn't be scoring, right? And I need to be scoring. So he's brought in some more Force-Grown drones to the right-hand side here, up against the crossbows. These guys are a bit of a pain. I mean, if they charge the Household Guard, that doesn't matter. I can usually just clear them off, but it could buy him time to get into the Household Guard with something else, like the, I don't know, more shooting or the Incarnates, or just something else like that. So it's a reasonable position for the Force-Growns. Over here we have the Mage. So what's happening here is that we are just trying to get into the forest, first of all. And that's there to make sure I don't take too much damage from his shooting if he decides to target the crossbows instead. And it also just clears a bit more room for the Archangel to get where it needs to be, and in the long run allows me to shoot at whatever is in combat with the Militia later on. So that's why she's there. Over here we have the other unit of force drones just moving forward a little bit more. They tried to charge, but I think he rolled a double one, needing like a 4 with a reroll. So they just pondered a little bit further forward without really affecting the game. For me, though, I actually did want to be in combat with them. So this is a pretty critical moment here. Is this a mistake? Have a think about it. Just let me know what you think that you would do in this situation. Is it better to just hold the Household Guard back just at the edge of that middle objective and just wait? One argument for that is that they're not exposing themselves to the short-range shooting of the Biomancer's Desolation drones and the Marksman clones. Because then, you know, a -1 armor and he's got deadly shot and there's all this going on, and they might be too far away from the mage. But if I just hang back, then the shooting can only just chip away at me. So holding back is probably the better play here. However, moving forward means that it's going to take him forever to get to the middle zone. I'm still going to get some more points out of it in the meantime. I can bring some knights in behind to score, and it threatens the push through onto the Marksman clones, where if I wipe them out, then his ability to win on attrition late game is really reduced. And this also forces the commitment of maybe the Incarnate Sentinels to the middle of the table as opposed to somewhere else. So that's what was going through my mind as I charged through here and wiped out these little drones. So as you can see here, his unit's exposed. He's a little bit out of position with the Desolation drones. He's trying to shoot back at me, but one of his stands is blocked off by the hill. So over here, the Archangel, double marching into the forest. It is very fast because of speed 7 plus the boost of 2 from the Spirit ability. This is kind of critical because it means that when his Avatara come towards the zone on the right-hand side here, the Archangel can get into combat with them, and it will take a while for the Avatara to deal with them, and it will buy time for the Knights to charge them, which should be what I need to finish them off. The Priest is about to attack the Centaurs here, but this Archangel is also in the forest as well, and also within range of the Household Guard for the ability to work on them also. So that's a bit of a pushed out view of the battlefield, where we've got the Avatar down the bottom left and the Household Guard just getting ready to do some work in the middle of the table. The second unit of Household Knights, picking up the wrong thing. They are going to come in behind here to go towards the center, because I realize that I'm going to get shot so badly by the Marksman clones, and I'll lose the back ranks of the Household Guard. Nothing will be there to score, so these knights are going to come in as the reserves and march up to that objective to hopefully pick up some more points. They can also protect these crossbows against the force-grown drones there and maybe kill them. Possibly even go after the brute drones, although that's unlikely. I don't think they'd actually beat the brute drones, if you ask me. So then we have the Marksman clones shooting at the Household Guard. They are a little bit out of range for the effective range shooting, but yeah, they still get some casualties. My opponent rolls quite badly at this stage of the game, lamenting his bad dice rolls. Didn't quite kill as many of the Household Guard as he should have, and I still have healing with the Mage. Over on the left, we're just marching a little bit further up with the Noble Lord on horse, just right behind the Militia, to give them enough space and enough room to march over top of the Militia and into the Avatar later if they get the opportunity to do that. This is not actually the real position of the Squires. I just took this photo to illustrate the point that I have done a withdrawal action, which automatically does d6 wounds, and only have 1 wound left. So we're just removing the Squires from the table, freeing up space for the Theist Priest to send in the Militia against the Centaur Avatara. Over here, we have the Avatara activating a little bit too early, I'm afraid, so that'll be it for them this turn. So they don't really have a good opportunity to get in there. So they're just repositioning and getting a bit closer and preparing for the onslaught. Over here, this is a critical moment. The Mage uses the healing spell on the Household Guards and brings back 1 stand of guys. They had 2 wounds. She brings back 4 wounds. We've got a new stand with 2 wounds left, and that puts them back onto the middle objective, giving me even more points. Had she failed at doing that, I am not scoring as many points as I would have liked. At the current point in time, I am ahead on points, scoring basically 3 per turn, while my opponent starts to get 1 per turn. So I'm well in the lead with that, but this really helps. Over here, we've got the Brutes moving on to his zone, but they're completely uncontested. I've deployed my entire army now. I've got nothing else to go after at the side of the table. It's all going to come down to the other 2 zones, but the one thing that I have going for me at this stage is that I've been consistently scoring those 2 zones for the last few turns, and I'm well in the lead. All right, it's time. It is time. The Priest pops the Elysian Fragment and then goes for the charge, also casting Blessed onto the Militia, which is big, and they go in there. Over here, the Incarnate Sentinels marching over top of the range units to block them and protect them against the Household Guard. Look, this is a reasonably good play. The Household Guard will do a lot of damage to the Incarnates, and I do have Armor of Dominion on the Noble Lord to get rid of some of that cleave. But the problem for me is that even if I do some damage to this unit, I'm going to get shot at again from really close range from 2 very deadly units, and I'm going to be out of range of the Mage at that point, and I'm not going to be touching the objective. The Knights are going to have to come in, then the Knights are going to get shot at, and this could mean my downfall in the mid-game. So my opponent just really jostling for a better position here to maybe get me in the flank or just minimize the effect of Armor of Dominion from the Noble Lord, who is, further out of picture right here. So here we have the Militia charging in, using Elysian Fragment, and absolutely pile driving the Centaurs into the ground in the name of, their god, whoever that may be. Absolutely ripping these Centaurs up and trading them for the Squires, which is a good trade for me. The Centaurs go down. Another little photo of the clash. All right, so this is the overview at the end of turn 4, I want to say. Yeah, that's the end of turn 4. On the right, Brute Drones, completely uncontested on the zone. In the center, I have the Household Guard on the zone, and they're about to engage the Incarnates. On the left-hand flank, I still have the Archangel, Knights, and Militia against his mega unit of Avatara. And I've got both my crossbows ready to go. The Mage is in position for healing, and I've got this backup reserve regiment of Knights to try and fend off that little group of Force-grown drones. But the great thing for me here is that the Brute Drones can't really afford to leave that zone, otherwise they're going to miss out on a lot of critical scoring. So this way of strategizing and playing Conquest: The Last Argument of Kings really sort of shuts your opponent out of the value of one of their combat units, which is just key. And that's why having an army list which scores very efficiently is important. And that's why at the moment Directorate is one of the better, probably the best build for Spires at the moment, because you can actually put the scoring on Force-grown drones, among other things. Whereas this style of list where, your scoring units might not be in position, that can be a real problem. Another overview of the other side here, just showing you the position where the Avatara are in range, like they can charge here, but so can the Militia. So, the plan here is to activate the Household Guard first and charge the Incarnates, because that way I don't suffer the impact hits, and I get a bit of time to murder them before they charge me, and we're going to play it that way. And then we're going to go into the Priest and the Militia, and we're going to proactively charge the Avatara, because that's going to slow them down. They're not going to be able to come towards the zone quickly enough. My Knights are going to move onto the zone to score, and then the Archangel is going to block the Avatara from an angle that will be afforded by the Militia's position. We'll show you that soon. Then we're doing the Household Knights last, just in case, of course, he breaks through the Militia. I can countercharge with the Knights at the end of the turn. All right. 100 Kingdoms winning the roll. So what happened is that my opponent won the roll for all of the 4 turns preceding this. I kind of engineered that a little bit by deliberately losing the roll in certain places, and now we have the Household Guard charging the Incarnates, and this is just with Cleave 1, mind you. So the Incarnates have a lot of wounds and a lot of defense, so after slashing them pretty badly, we've managed to destroy 2 stands and leaves them with 1 left. So that's how it's looking. He's damaged, but we have not broken cleanly through the regiment. Over here, because my opponent did go with the Incarnates as his first card, it attacks back, does a couple of wounds, then we move over to this, which is the Theist Priest casting a spell on the Militia. This is the Supremacy turn, so he gets Blessed automatically, and then he's putting Cleave onto the command stand and onto the character there. They all charge in, they use Blessed on the attacks, and they actually manage to kill like 2 stands of Avatara, which is very helpful. It means that I can start to drop him below that Cascading Degeneration threshold, where if he's got a certain number of them, they do more Aura of Death hits. Let's just check that. So 5 or more stands, it does Aura of Death 8, which is fun. So this would have dropped him down to, 5 stands, basically, including the character. Great. 4 Squirrel drones over here charging into the boys, the crossbowmen. This is a march charge, so no damage is done, but he does have a catabolic node. If I charge with the knights, they will hit the forest, so that won't work too well, but hey, this turn is the Supremacy turn, so I've got Blessed from the Theist Priest. Double checking that, I may have actually inadvertently cheated. Let me just go and have a look. Mercenary Crossbowmen. They are not Theist in this list, so they actually wouldn't have received the bonus of that. Does the Noble Lord make them Theist? No, I don't think they do. All feudal regiments will gain veteran. Yes, he's giving them veteran, he's not giving them Theist. Okay, so I cheated there. Didn't actually do as much damage to them as I thought I would. So these guys attacking back. I did get re-rolls on my attacks I shouldn't have done. So that does wound the drones. Takes them down to 1 stand. Probably should have only done like 2 or 3 wounds less there. Over here, we've got the Desolation drones opening up into the, or even the Biomancer just activating and healing the Incarnate Sentinel a little bit, but the idea is just to blast the Household Guard to death with the acid spray. And then over here, we've got the Force-Grown drones turning around and charging the Household Guard in the flank, getting ready to tie them down from this angle as well. The Knights marching up here and getting into a spot where they can actually camp that middle objective, because that's going to be critical. I just need to go for the points win here. It's looking increasingly unlikely that I'm going to win this game on attrition. So we want to extend the scoring lead as much as we can to shut him out mathematically from scoring there. One play that he could make is that he could march these brute drones towards the center of the table and beat up the knights, but that would cause him to abandon that zone, so I'm fine for him to do that. So at the moment, the knights just have to stand here. That's all they need to do. And as mentioned earlier, Desolation drones able to fire at the Household Guard, very close range. And then we have the beautiful Archangel. So I could have march charged into the Avatara, but I decided not to because it means that they can put some damage onto the Archangel later this turn when they activate, and it potentially means me taking Aura of Death hits the following turn. And if his plan is to shred the Militia with Pheromantic Override and then actually do a charge clash onto something else, the Archangel is right there to block that off. So because I still have 6 stands of Militia, I am under the impression here that the Avatara aren't going to quite kill them with one clash that is not inspired from the Pheromantic Override. So putting the Archangel into a position where it blocks the movement later in the turn after he kills them with the normal clash is optimal here. And then I have the opportunity to charge without maximizing stands in the next turn, which means that I just clip into the side here, leaving room for the Knights to attack the Avatara. So that is the carefully laid plan here from 100 Kingdoms. The Mage, reforming it a bit and moving into the forest. The crucial game plan for the Mage now, that she's out of range to heal the Household Guard, is to move on to this objective and use her ability to get additional scoring stands from Relentless Drills and start picking up points. And then she's going to be protected against the Marksome clones by the forest and can heal back wounded stands as well. So that is going to be a game winner if she can just get onto that zone shortly. So over here, Brute Drones just standing at the edge of that zone. They just don't want to leave for reasons we have already explained. And the Avatara now attacking the Militia. So what happens is that he decides to use his free clash. So they attack the Militia, and they don't actually kill the Militia. They kill like half the stands. So that is just from a free clash action. The unit hasn't activated yet, so they're not actually inspired. And that will mean that he's not going to be able to move very far if he clashes them again. So there they are, wailing on them with the big glaives. So the Militia are destroyed with the second clash, noting that the character activation causes the first clash, and then when the regiment card is drawn, they do their actual Inspire clash, eliminating the priest unit, and then I am moving in with the knights, still touching the objective. But the critical positioning here is that if I go first, the knights charge the Avatara, and there's still room for the Archangel. But if he goes first, he's going to hit the Archangel first, and is not really going to be able to engage both units, and that will allow me to actually get the charge off with the knights because he's been blocked off. So very careful and expert positioning here saves the day, and we can hopefully overcome the dreaded Avatara. Bit of a zoom out here. We've got the knights on the center objective and the other knights on the left-hand objective, whereas my opponent's brute drones are on the other one, so I'm still outscoring them, which is critical. The problem again here is that the Household Guard are basically eliminated now, and he's going to be able to use his Desolation drones to shoot the Archangel, Marksman clones to shoot the Knights, the Catabolic Node's about to blow up in my crossbows, and I'm losing cards quickly. Excuse me. Looking at the left-hand side here, the Mage in the forest is just going to be critical here. She's going to move onto that forest, through the forest, onto that circular zone, and if he targets them long range with some shooting, then she's going to heal back, and she's going to keep scoring, even if the Avatar do a lot of damage to the Knights. The Knights are going to be moving off that zone anyway, so it's just going to be coming down to the Mage to save the day, and the ability to score here is really what saves me and keeps me in the game. So this is how we're going to play it. We're going to draw the Archangel first, and it is going to charge the Avatar's unit, and because it's got a lot of wounds, it's very tanky, they're not going to be able to do any damage to the Knights this turn, and then the Knights charge them, they do impacts, the clash with the Caledburn, and then I can clash them the following turn and hopefully take them out. So that's the way we're going to do it. Save the Knights to last. We're going with the Archangel first. So here it is. Archangel does go in with the roll coming over my way, and we're just slamming into him. So we're doing a impact hit and then a bunch of clash attacks. My opponent's dice rolls for this game have been very bad, and we're paying him back a little bit with some really bad rolls from the Archangel. Very little damage done by this guy, but that's fine. I didn't really want to do that much damage anyway. He just really needs to tank like a brick and wait for the Knights to get in there. So the Avatara attacking back and doing 6 wounds to him. He's actually quite a tough cookie there, and he's actually pretty good with resolve checks as well. And most of the Avatara are not in combat, so having to lend their supporting attacks. So the plan has worked. Over here, that's another little look, and yeah, just one stand is removed, and then I'm still like touching the edge of the corner of the unit. So the Force-Grown drones turn around now and charge the Archangel, and the idea is that they are there to slow him down. They're able to get some attacks in the rear, and the Catabolic Node will go off on him as well, so that's the strategy from the Force-Grown boys. So seeing that that's going on, the Mage spreads out a little bit and moves onto the objective and shoots at the Force-Grown drones, doing a lot of damage to them because they are not getting their shields. They're faced around the wrong way. The Mage also will have the spell ability from the magic missile that could go off on them as well. So these guys are turning around. They're only just getting a few stands in range of the Archangel, so maybe like one stand, popping off a few shots and doing some further wounds to him. Crucially, lowering his defense there as well, so that the Force-Grown drones, Catabolic Node, etc., can do more damage to him. Over here, we've got the Marksman boys turning around, trying to get some shots off on the Archangel as well, but it's very long range at this point, so that is also a difficulty. And then, of course, we've got the Knights charging in. Now, sadly, due to the awkward positioning that my opponent set up here, I'm actually out of combat with one of the Knights. So they charge in, they do a bunch of impact hits. The Archangel is dead now because it did take all the shooting from the Desolation drones and the Marksman clones with ground violence for deadly shot, and of course the Catabolic Node actually blew up from the Force-Grown drones when the Mage fired at it with the Fireball spell, not the Fireball spell, but the electric magic missile thing. So the Archangel is down, but now we move in with the Knights, and they're doing some more damage with the impact hits and the Caledburn clash from the Noble Lord. My dice rolls were a little bit under average here, but again, my opponent's rolls during the game generally have been worse. They've been pretty shocking, to be fair. In the center, just repositioning the Knights a little bit, expecting that Incarnate Sentinel to come charging through, and we want to be, taking that shock from the front there with the shields. We do outnumber them at this point. We're still scoring from that objective, and the Mercenary Crossbowmen down the bottom right there have taken some casualties from the Force-grown drones blowing up in their face. Again, I shouldn't have had Blessed that other turn, so I shouldn't have really killed them as quickly, but this area of the table wasn't particularly very impactful for the overall game, right? So in comes the Incarnate Sentinel. He's standing on the zone, doing a couple of impact hits, doesn't have any effect on the Knights, and they have 3 stands touching that circle, so I'm still scoring that point. So, what we want to do now is activate the Knights in the next turn to try and finish off the Avatara. They need to attack before the Avatara attacks. It's not going to be easy. But at the same time, I also need to attack the Incarnate Sentinel to kill him. So it's going to be either of the Knights units activating first, with the Mage coming last so that she can heal the crossbows if they get shot at. So this is an overview of the battlefield. On the left, he's only got 1 stand of Avatara left, but unfortunately, I'm not even touching him in contact with the Noble Lord, so it's just going to be the 9 attacks from the Knights plus the 2 support attacks to try and get 4 wounds out of that Avatara. And then I should hopefully be in a position to perpetually score from that left-hand objective and seal the win. Over here, we've got the Incarnate Sentinel against the Knights. Can't remember what happened with this one. Neither of these 2 units actually died. And then over here, we have the Knights against the Avatara. I think my opponent went first with this one. And with only 1 Avatara and 1 Lineage Highborne, didn't quite manage to kill the unit. Just maybe killed like 1 stand of Knights there. And try duel the Noble Lord, who declined. So over here we've got the Knights attacking the Incarnate Sentinel. Can't quite kill him. He is very, very tough. And crucially, the Mage reforming her regiment, so she's got 2 stands in the zone, but importantly, everything's touching the forest now. So if he tries to have a go at me with the Marksman clones, he won't do as much damage. So with my remaining unit of house crossbows, bear in mind, these guys shouldn't have really had the opportunity to do this, but they've marched out here just to potentially get onto their zone in the middle or act as a speed bump, blocking the brute drones from going towards the center. So Marksman clones over here, shooting at the Knights, I think it was, not killing the Knights. The Knights are still there, so that 1 command stand is contesting his 1 Incarnate Sentinel, so he's still not picking up the points from the middle. Over here, we've got the Desolation drones trying to get in range of the other regiment of Knights, but just can't really manage to find that range. And a bit of a zoom out here. We've still got the brute drones very close here, but what can they really do at this point? Not much. On the left-hand side, we've got my Knights and my Noble Lord, who have finally managed to finish off the Avatara. Just barely managed to kill that regiment, so they are free now to turn around and go towards that zone. And that pretty much seals the game, because he's really counting on being able to have a couple of turns at the end of the game where he's scoring from all 3 objectives, which would have been achievable if the Avatara had survived and killed the Noble Lord's regiment. That wasn't looking likely, and it has come to pass that the Avatara have gone down, so we move on. So I want to move the Household Knights out of range of his shooting, but also attack the Incarnates, so that's why they're going early on, and the Mercenary Crossbowmen also wanting to jump onto the middle zone to slow them down. So we have this situation here where the Incarnate can bash the Knight. Pretty easy to do that at this point. Over here, the Noble Lord just turning the regiment around so they've got their shields facing the enemy, marching onto the zones, so he'll have to choose between shooting at the Mage, who can heal back, or the Knights, who are quite tough. Either of these 2 regiments can score. The Knights are broken, but the character can actually rally them when it's his turn to have the command card being drawn. And this is actually the point in the game where we called it, because if we just go back a couple steps here, the idea is that I am 10 points ahead of him with 3 turns left. So if he scores 3 points per turn for the rest of the game, he'll come up 1 short. But to get to a point where he's scoring 4 points on one of those turns, he would need to get the Desolation drones double marching over to the objective and actually getting through the knights and the crossbows, which means that he's not shooting with them, and the marksman clones are a little bit too far away. He does need to shoot at my crossbows to prevent them from actually contesting the zone in the middle. And we just mathed it out, and we found that there was no way that he could actually get there. So I decided to call it, but it was an extremely close game. If my opponent had rolled better for some of the dice, he might have made it. Or if we'd had one more turn, he might have made it. Overall, I think that I outplayed him with position in terms of the brute drones being stuck there, able to do very little, and of course me using positioning to outplay the Avatara. But I'm still not 100% happy with my decision relating to the Household Guard, because if they stay back far enough, then the shooting is just much less effective against them, and it gives me more time to heal them with the Mage, and I can then just attack whatever comes in into the objective, whether that's the Incarnates or whatever it is. And it just gives me plenty of time, and I can use the other unit of Household Knights on some other part of the battlefield. I could have committed both of them to the left-hand side, so I think that's something I could have played a little bit better. But looking forward to a new incarnation of this list. I thought the Archangel did really well, and we'll keep running him in future, because Theists are fun. Alright guys, well that is it for me. Hope you had a good time watching this, and we'll see you in the next video.